For more than 4,000 years, a hidden inscription lay buried beneath the Giza Plateau, untouched by sunlight and largely ignored by the public. But what if those ancient symbols were not describing myths at all? What if they were pointing to a real chamber hidden beneath one of the most famous monuments on Earth? Modern scanning technology has revealed strange underground anomalies beneath the Great Sphinx. Ancient texts appear to reference a sealed vault, and for decades, attempts to investigate these discoveries have faced repeated obstacles. Coincidence, or something far more significant? In this video, we will follow the evidence, examine the ancient inscriptions, explore the scientific surveys, and uncover
The Great Sphinx, a monument shrouded in mystery, standing eternal beneath the desert stars.
Deep beneath the Giza Plateau lies a place that most visitors will never see. It is known as the Osiris Shaft, a multi-level underground complex cut directly into the bedrock, roughly 300 meters southwest of the Great Sphinx. Unlike the open monuments above ground, this place feels less like a tourist site and more like a sealed memory buried inside the earth. The shaft descends through several levels, with its deepest chamber reaching approximately 29 meters below the surface. Down there, in a space shaped by stone, water, darkness, and silence, researchers have described a sarcophagus, a flooded area, and a carved panel on the western wall. That wall panel is where the mystery begins. According to the account preserved in the competing script, the panel contains a formal hieroglyphic register, possibly connected to late Old Kingdom or early Middle Kingdom scribal tradition. It was said to have been partially documented during the Giza excavations led by Egyptian archaeologist Selim Hassan in the 1930s. Hassan was not a fringe figure. He was one of the most important Egyptian archaeologists to work at Giza, and his surveys helped shape modern understanding of the plateau. Yet, the most intriguing part of this story is not simply that an inscription exists. It is what the inscription is claimed to describe. The text is said to begin with a phrase often translated as, "the house of the first time." In ordinary interpretation, this
Look
might
closely
sound
at
like
the
religious
incision marks
poetry,
on the beak.
a reference to
They
creation
indicate a later
mythology,
revision,
or a symbolic
perhaps during
place
the
in
Amarna
Egyptian
period.
spiritual imagination. But some researchers argue that the wording should be read more literally. They claim the sign attached to the word for house points not to an abstract concept, but to a built structure, a real enclosed space. If that interpretation is correct, then the inscription may not be speaking only about myth. It may be referring to a physical room. And the mystery deepens with the next phrase. The inscription is said to mention knowledge belonging to those who came before the flood. Standard scholars might treat this as symbolic language, perhaps referring to divine ancestors, priestly tradition, or mythical beings from the Egyptian first time. But alternative researchers focus on the kind of knowledge being described. They argue that the Egyptian wording suggests practical skill, technical mastery, and the abilities of builders, architects, or engineers. In other words, this was not simply sacred wisdom, it was know-how. That single distinction changes the entire tone of the inscription. Instead of describing a temple myth, it begins to sound like a record of something preserved, a place connected with builders, technical knowledge, and an age remembered as older than dynastic Egypt itself. And if the inscription really points towards such a place, the next question becomes impossible to ignore. Where was it pointing? The most controversial element of the inscription is not its reference to ancient knowledge. It is the direction it appears to provide. According to researchers who support the alternative interpretation, a partially preserved section near the lower portion of the wall contains a directional marker. Rather than pointing upward toward the heavens, as many religious Egyptian texts often do, the marker appears to indicate a horizontal direction. That direction is northeast. At first glance, this may not seem remarkable. Ancient inscriptions contain directional references all the time. But when researchers plotted that direction from the location of the Osiris Shaft, they notice something unusual. The line points toward the Great Sphinx.
These symbols confirm
More
the earlier
specifically,
hypothesis, not
it
yours.
points
Respectfully,
toward
I
the
see
area
no
beneath the
confirmation here.
monument itself.
The stratification clearly
Supporters
indicates
of the
otherwise.
theory argue that the inscription is not describing a spiritual journey, a celestial realm, or a symbolic destination. They believe it is describing a physical location, a real place that could be reached by following the indicated direction. The next symbol in the sequence is equally important. According to this interpretation, the glyph used at the end of the directional statement resembles symbols found in some of Egypt's oldest religious texts. In those contexts, it has been associated with enclosed spaces used to store and preserve valuable objects. Not a tomb, not a burial chamber, a storage chamber, a vault. When these elements are combined, the proposed translation becomes increasingly specific. The inscription appears to describe a sealed chamber.
My research clearly
located to the
indicates a
northeast
statistically
of the
significant
Osiris
correlation.
I must interject.
containing
The data you are
preserved objects
referencing is
connected to a
outdated.
Yes,
time
look at the
before
updated
the
figures on
rise
this
of
chart.
dynastic
Check the depth
Egypt.
reading again.
Whether that interpretation is correct remains
It's definitely
heavily
registering a
debated.
void
However,
structure.
What transformed this obscure inscription into an international mystery was not the translation itself. It was what happened decades later. Because long after the hieroglyphs were carved into stone, modern technology began looking beneath the Sphinx. And according to several surveys, it found something unexpected. In the early 1990s, geologist Thomas Dobecki participated in a ground-penetrating radar investigation of the Sphinx enclosure. The purpose was simple: examine what existed beneath the surface without disturbing the monument itself. The results attracted immediate attention. The radar data reportedly identified a rectangular anomaly beneath the area near the Sphinx's left paw. Unlike a natural crack or random cavity, the shape appeared organized. Straight boundaries suggested a geometric form rather than a naturally occurring void. Researchers estimated dimensions of roughly 9 meters by 12 meters, large enough to be significant, large enough to raise questions. Yet despite the discovery, no excavation followed. No tunnel was opened, no chamber was entered, no definitive explanation was provided. As it was, the anomaly remained exactly where it had always been, hidden beneath layers of stone, inaccessible to researchers, and increasingly surrounded by speculation. Then, more than 2 decades later, another survey would bring the mystery back into the spotlight, and what it reportedly found would make the debate even harder to ignore. For years, the alleged chamber beneath the Sphinx remained little more than an intriguing anomaly in old survey records. Critics argued that unusual radar readings could result from natural geological formations. Supporters insisted the data pointed to
はい、
something
ここの数個
artificial.
は安定していますが、
Then another
周波数を
investigation entered the
40Hz に
picture.
合わせてくださいね
In。
40Hz です
2015,
ね。完了しました
a
ね。
Japanese research team reportedly conducted a new electromagnetic and ground-penetrating radar survey around the Sphinx Plateau, using equipment far more advanced than what had been available during earlier studies. The objective was not to prove ancient legends. It was simply to gather more detailed subsurface data. What drew attention was the reported similarity between the new findings and the earlier radar results. According to accounts of the survey, researchers identified multiple underground anomalies beneath and around the Sphinx. One of these reportedly corresponded closely to the same location identified decades earlier. If accurate, 2 independent investigations, separated by more than 20 years and using different technology, had detected
The alignment
an
here,
unusual
it's
feature in nearly
undeniable.
the same place.
But what about the
For
subsurface
supporters of the
imaging?
chamber
There's a
theory,
chamber directly
this was a
underneath.
significant development. One survey
As you can
could be
see,
dismissed
the
as
data
an
sets
error.
align
2
perfectly,
surveys
confirming
pointing to
the
a similar
subsurface
location
structure
were
beneath
harder
the
to
Sphinx.
ignore. Even more intriguing were reports that additional anomalies extended beyond the original area, suggesting a more complex subsurface environment than previously believed. Some researchers proposed that natural cavities, hidden passages, or even man-made chambers might exist beneath portions of the plateau. But there was a problem. Finding an anomaly is not the same as identifying it. Radar can reveal differences in density beneath the ground. It can indicate voids, cavities, walls, or geological irregularities. What it cannot do is tell researchers exactly exactly what lies inside? To answer that question, physical investigation would be required. Drilling, excavation, direct examination. And according to numerous accounts, requests for further access
As you can see
face
here, the
significant
muography clearly
obstacles.
reveals a significant anomaly
This is where the
directly
mystery
beneath the
became
paw.
larger
This
than the
chamber has
chamber
gone
itself.
undetected for centuries.
Supporters of
The
additional
degradation rate has
exploration
accelerated
argue that
significantly.
Science advances through investigation.
Look at the stress
If
fractures
unusual
here. It's worse than
structures existed
anticipated.
Beneath one of humanity's most famous monuments, they believed those structures should be examined carefully and transparently. Others disagreed. Conservation experts warned that invasive testing could potentially damage a priceless archaeological site. The Sphinx has survived thousands of years of erosion, environmental stress, and human activity. Any drilling or excavation would have to be approached with extreme caution. As a result, debate intensified. Was access being denied to protect the monument? Or was something important being left unexplored? The unanswered questions created a vacuum that speculation quickly filled. Books were written, documentaries were produced, researchers, historians, and alternative theorists all offered competing explanations. Yet despite decades of discussion, one fact remained unchanged. No publicly confirmed excavation has revealed a hidden vault beneath the Sphinx. No collection of ancient tools has been recovered. No lost library.
We are
has
live in
emerged
Cairo
from
with
beneath the
stunning new
sands of
developments.
Giza.
But is it
The
truly
chamber,
a
if
hidden
it
chamber
exists,
or
remains
just another
unverified.
passage? The
And
evidence
that
is still
uncertainty is
inconclusive.
precisely what keeps the mystery alive. Because once a question survives for decades without a definitive answer, it begins to take on a life of its own. And nowhere is that more evident than in the growing controversy surrounding the age of the Sphinx itself. If the alleged chamber beneath the Sphinx is one of archaeology's greatest mysteries, then the age of the Sphinx itself may be an even bigger one. For more than a century, the conventional view has remained largely unchanged. Most Egyptologists date the Great Sphinx to around 2500 BCE during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, placing its construction within the era of the Old Kingdom. According to this interpretation, the monument was carved directly from the limestone bedrock as part of a larger royal building project connected to the nearby pyramids. For many scholars, the evidence supporting this timeline is sufficient, but not everyone agrees. In the late 20th century, independent researcher John Anthony West began drawing attention to an unusual feature of the Sphinx enclosure. Looking closely at the limestone walls surrounding the monument, he noticed erosion patterns that appeared different from the effects normally produced by wind and sand.
These deep
weathering
pockets are a
seemed
result
vertical,
of salt weathering,
rounded,
likely
deeply
halite,
worn.
eroding the
And
weaker
according to
strata.
West, it
So the
resembled
erosion
damage
rate
caused by
accelerated
prolonged
here.
exposure
The
to heavy
subconscious
rainfall.
reveals the
This
truth hidden
observation
beneath
led him
the
to
waking
seek
mind.
expert geological
The numbers
analysis.
must align before the
That
next
expert
full
was
moon.
Dr. Robert Schock, a geologist from Boston University. When Schock examined the enclosure, he reached a conclusion that immediately ignited controversy. He argued that significant portions of the erosion appeared consistent with water weathering rather than erosion alone. As the climate of the Giza Plateau today is extremely dry. More importantly, the region has not experienced the kind of sustained heavy rainfall necessary to produce such weathering for thousands of years. If Schock's interpretation were correct, the implications would be extraordinary. It would mean that at least part of the monument, or the enclosure surrounding it, could predate conventional Egyptian chronology by a substantial margin. Some proponents of the theory pushed the date back to around 7000 BCE. Others suggested even earlier periods. The most dramatic claims proposed that the origins of the Sphinx could extend to a time more than 10,000 years ago.
Pull, lift,
long
together
before the
now.
emergence of
Heave!
dynastic Egypt. Such a possibility would challenge one of the
We've examined this
foundational
supposed
assumptions
water
of ancient
erosion data
history.
countless times.
It
It
would
simply does
imply
not
that
align with the
large-scale
dynastic
stone
evidence.
construction
This theory is
may have
entirely
existed
unsupported.
long before the rise of the civilization, traditionally credited with creating the monument. Not surprisingly, mainstream Egyptologists strongly rejected these conclusions. Critics argued that Schock's interpretation relied on incomplete evidence, and that other geological processes could account for the observed erosion. They maintained that archaeological, historical, historical and contextual evidence still supported a 4th dynasty origin around 2500 BCE, the debate quickly evolved beyond geology. It became a conflict between two fundamentally different views of human history. One side saw
From the
Sphinx
sands of
as
Egypt
a
to the
masterpiece
submerged cities of the
ancient Egyptian
Atlantic,
engineering
these lost
from the Old
civilizations
Kingdom.
continue to challenge our understanding of history.
Inherited from a much older and largely forgotten past. Decades later, neither side has fully convinced the other. The controversy remains unresolved, and that uncertainty has become fuel for countless theories about lost civilizations, forgotten builders, and hidden chapters of human development. For those who believe the Sphinx may be far older than accepted history suggests, the alleged chamber beneath the monument takes on an entirely new significance. Because if an ancient vault truly exists below the Sphinx, and if the monument itself predates dynastic Egypt, then whatever lies hidden beneath it might belong to a chapter of history that has never been fully understood. That possibility is precisely why the next part of this story becomes so controversial. It is no longer about geology. It is about knowledge. Who preserved it? Who may have lost it? And why so many claims of hidden records continue to surround the monuments of Giza. The deeper researchers looked into the mystery. The more the discussion shifted away from hidden chambers and towards something potentially even more significant. Knowledge, not treasure, not gold, not royal artifacts. Knowledge. According to the controversial interpretation of the Osiris shaft inscription, the alleged vault was never described as a storage place for wealth. Instead,
Great.
it was
If
said
this
to
alignment
contain
is
records,
correct,
tools,
the shaft points
and technical
directly to the
information left
secondary
behind
chamber.
by builders from an earlier age. Whether that claim is accurate remains a matter of debate. Yet the idea itself raises a fascinating question. What if ancient civilizations
Heave that bucket
were more
up!
sophisticated than we assume?
Watch the steam. Steady now.
History is filled with examples
More men
of
on the
knowledge
ropes.
being lost and later rediscovered. The formula for Roman concrete was forgotten for centuries. Ancient engineering techniques used to construct massive monuments remain subjects of ongoing research. Even today, archaeologists continue uncovering technologies that challenge previous assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies. Because of this, some researchers argue that human history may contain periods of advancement that have not survived in the archaeological record. Not necessarily advanced in the modern technological sense, but advanced enough to build, organize, calculate, and preserve knowledge in ways we do not yet
Pull
fully
as one.
understand.
Have.
This idea
We
is
pull.
often
It rises.
what
We pull.
Egyptian
It is set.
commonly translated
This
as the
depiction
first
of the
time.
solar bark
In
clearly
Egyptian
illustrates the
mythology,
sun god's nightly
Zep Tepi
journey through the
refers to a
underworld
primordial
before his
age when
rebirth
order
at
was
dawn.
first established and the foundations of civilization were laid. Mainstream scholars interpret these stories as religious tradition and symbolic cosmology. Alternative researchers see something different. They speculate that such accounts may contain distant memories
The
of
longitudinal
real
study
events,
confirms the
transformed
hypothesis,
over
demonstrating a
generations into
clear
myth and
correlation
sacred
between the
history.
variables presented in
According
Table
to this
4.
perspective, legends of divine teachers, wise builders, and culture bringers could represent echoes of forgotten human societies rather than supernatural beings. There is no consensus supporting this theory, but it continues to attract attention.
The
because
correlation
similar
here in
stories
the
occur
Andes
across
is much
multiple
stronger
ancient
than we
cultures.
anticipated.
Yes, it
Mesopotamian
aligns
traditions
perfectly
speak
with
of
the
sages
quaternary
who
data.
arrived before a great flood. Greek legends describe a lost golden age. Various civilizations preserve memories of catastrophic events that separated the present world from a much older one. Some researchers believe these recurring themes may preserve fragments of collective memory reaching back thousands of years. Others argue that such stories are simply universal mythological patterns shared by many societies. The debate remains unresolved, yet this uncertainty is exactly what makes the alleged inventory described in the inscription so intriguing. According to the controversial translation, 3 categories of objects were reportedly listed inside the hidden vault. Objects of exceptional craftsmanship, written records, working tools, not ceremonial items or religious offerings, practical objects associated with construction, knowledge, and skilled labor. If such an inventory genuinely existed, it would sound less like mythology and more like a record left behind for future generations. Almost as if someone expected the chamber to be opened one day. Almost as if the contents were intended to survive a disaster. A flood, a collapse, a forgotten age, or the passage of thousands of years. Of course, there is one enormous problem. No one has publicly verified that such a chamber exists. No one has opened it. No one has recovered the alleged records. No one has examined the supposed tools. Everything depends on interpretations, indirect evidence, and unanswered questions. And that is where the story becomes increasingly controversial. Because supporters of the mystery do not merely argue that evidence exists. Some believe that access to that evidence has been repeatedly blocked. Whether those claims are justified or not, they have become a central part of one of the most heated debates surrounding the Giza Plateau. A debate involving permits, denied excavations, government oversight, and accusations that important questions have been left unanswered for decades. As the mystery surrounding the Sphinx grew, the debate gradually expanded beyond archaeology and into a far more controversial territory: access. Who gets permission to investigate? Who decides what research can proceed? And where the line exists between protecting history and limiting exploration. Supporters of the hidden chamber theory often point to a series of failed excavation proposals as evidence that important questions have remained unanswered for decades. They argue that if underground anomalies have been detected repeatedly, further investigation should naturally follow. Yet the reality is far more complicated. The Giza Plateau is not simply an archaeological site. It is one of the most important cultural heritage locations on Earth. Every decision made there carries enormous consequences. Any excavation, drilling project, or structural investigation must pass through layers of review, designed to prevent accidental damage to monuments that have survived for thousands of years.
The readings indicate significant
Because of
subsurface
this,
deterioration here.
Confirmed. We're
obtaining
seeing the same
permission for
pattern on the
intrusive
acoustic data.
research
We
is
need to recommend
exceptionally
immediate
difficult.
stabilization.
Throughout the late 20th and early 21st centuries, various researchers proposed additional surveys and investigations related to subsurface anomalies near the Sphinx. Some requests reportedly received limited approval. Others were denied or delayed. To supporters of alternative history theories, these decisions appeared suspicious.
It has to be this ridgeline. The elevation matches the pattern.
Structural review confirms we need stabilization points here for phase 2.
But the data contradicts your theory entirely.
One narrative claims that officials were simply protecting an irreplaceable archaeological treasure from unnecessary risk. The other suggests that potentially important discoveries were never given the opportunity to be properly investigated.
The security of this historical site is paramount. We will not tolerate any threats to our heritage. We are committed to protecting these timeless wonders.
This cluster near the delta shows significant heat signatures. We should prioritize this quadrant.
Agreed. The coordinates are logged here on the main grid.
Because of his authority and public visibility, he became a frequent target of criticism from alternative researchers who believed greater access
We have reviewed the
should be
evidence,
granted to
and we
independent
completely
investigation.
dismiss this theory.
Hawass
There is
consistently
no
rejected
hidden chamber.
Many extraordinary claims surrounding hidden chambers, lost civilizations, and secret knowledge beneath the Sphinx. From his perspective, the burden of proof rested on those making the claims. Extraordinary assertions required extraordinary evidence. And until such evidence existed, speculation remained speculation. His critics disagreed. They argued that the evidence could never be gathered if permission to investigate was continually denied. As a result, the controversy evolved into something larger than a single chamber beneath the ground. It became a debate about how history itself should be studied. Should researchers prioritize caution and preservation above all else? Or should they pursue every anomaly, every unanswered question, and every possibility regardless of where the evidence might lead? Neither side has fully resolved that conflict. Even today, discussions about hidden structures beneath the Giza Plateau often generate intense disagreement among archaeologists, historians, independent researchers, and the public, yet amid all the arguments, one fact remains remarkably consistent. The mystery survives because the final answer has never been obtained. No definitive excavation between evidence and speculation. And perhaps that is why the story continues to capture the imagination of millions. Because history's greatest mysteries are rarely driven by what we know. They are driven by what we still cannot explain. And nowhere is that uncertainty more powerful than at Giza, where ancient stone continues to guard secrets that may or may not exist beneath the sands. The challenge is not deciding what to believe. The challenge is deciding how much of the story remains unwritten. After examining the inscriptions, reviewing the radar surveys, exploring the geological controversy, and considering the claims of hidden knowledge, one question remains. What does the evidence actually tell us? The answer is both fascinating and frustrating. On one hand, there are facts that few people dispute. The Osiris shaft is real. Ancient inscriptions exist within the Giza complex. Subsurface anomalies have been reported around the Sphinx area. Researchers have debated the monument's age for decades, and numerous questions about the plateau remain unresolved. Those points form the foundation of the mystery, but beyond those facts lies a much more uncertain landscape. There is currently no publicly verified evidence proving that a hidden vault beneath the Sphinx contains ancient tools, lost records, or the knowledge of a forgotten civilization. No excavation has produced such artifacts. No official discovery has confirmed the existence of a preserved archive. No chamber has revealed the answers many researchers hope to find. Yet uncertainty should not be confused with impossibility. History repeatedly demonstrates that major discoveries often begin as unanswered questions. The ruins of Troy were once considered legend. The city of Machu Picchu remained hidden from the outside world for centuries. Entire civilizations have emerged from beneath deserts, jungles, and layers of forgotten history. Because of this, the mystery beneath the Sphinx continues to inspire investigation. Not because extraordinary claims have been proven, but because some questions remain open. And open questions have a remarkable ability to survive. Perhaps there is nothing beneath the Sphinx beyond natural geological formations. Perhaps future investigations will reveal chambers created by ancient builders for entirely ordinary purposes. Or perhaps one day a discovery will emerge that forces historians to reconsider parts of humanity's distant past. At this moment, nobody knows. What makes this story so compelling is not the certainty of the conclusion. It is the absence of one. For thousands of years, the Great Sphinx has watched civilizations rise and fall. Empires have appeared, flourished, and disappeared while the monument remained where it has always stood, silent. Unmoving, its face has become one of the most recognizable symbols in human history. Yet many of the questions surrounding it remain unanswered. Perhaps that is why the mystery endures. Not because the Sphinx gives us answers, but because it continues to ask questions. Questions about the origins of civilization. Questions about the knowledge of ancient peoples. Questions about what may still be hidden beneath the sands of time. And until those questions are answered, the debate will continue. The theories will continue. And the world will keep looking toward Giza, wondering whether one of history's greatest secrets is still waiting to be uncovered. The mystery of the Sphinx has captivated explorers, historians, and researchers for generations. Whether the stories surrounding hidden chambers and forgotten knowledge ultimately prove true or not, one thing is certain. There are still many unanswered questions buried within the ancient world. Every new discovery reminds us that history is not a finished book. It is an ongoing investigation, with each generation uncovering pieces of a much larger puzzle. What do you think? Could there really be something significant hidden beneath the Sphinx? Or are these mysteries simply the result of centuries of speculation?
The energy readings
legend?
here are undeniable. The ancient
Share
site
your
is beneath
thoughts
the
in
museum.
But the
comments
structural
below.
reports show we
If you
can't
enjoyed this
excavate.
deep
We must
dive
move
into
forward
one
with
of
the revised
history's
blueprints
most
regardless.
fascinating mysteries, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss future investigations into ancient civilizations, archaeological discoveries, and the secrets that continue to challenge everything we think we know about the past. Thank you for watching, and until next time,